Okay, so we are on air. So hello everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to this live Course Report Q&A. My name is Liz Eggleston. I work on Course Report, which is a resource for finding the coding bootcamp that's right for you. So like I say at all of our webinars, if you haven't looked at Course Report yet, use our directory to find schools that fit your needs. Check out our blog for interviews with students and instructors and founders at bootcamps across the world. You'll find application tips and all kinds of other resources as well. So today we are joined by Abdullah Alger, who took the front-end web development apprenticeship at Bloc, which is an awesome online mentored boot camp. And he's going to share his experience with us and also his experience with Bloc's new job prep program, which is one of their newest offerings. So we're really excited to hear about that. And he's also going to take us through the project that he actually got to make in the class. So Abdullah, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
Great. So tell us, I guess, first what you were up to before you started at Bloc.
Well, I can't really say that it was up to until this present time, but because I'm still working at my normal job. But I've been a professor of English at the British University in Egypt for about a year, and prior to that, I was actually a professor of English as well in Saudi Arabia and one in Manchester, England.
Awesome. So professor of English, that is a world away from computer programming, some might
Yeah,
think. But
definitely,
what
definitely.
inspired you to start getting programming and sort of add that skill set to your toolbox?
Right. Well, I had actually dabbled in programming or HTML websites and things like that. Probably back in 1997 when I was an undergrad at Washington State University. And I'd go into the computer lab at night and I just mess around with HTML and stuff like that. And I was really interested in it, but I never pursued a degree in it. But it was just like a hobby that I liked to do in my spare time. It wasn't really until recently that I really had a desire to, I guess, get into web development professionally, and it was really through these online boot camps that helped me make up my mind to actually do it. Um, because it was really flexible and I could do it from anywhere. I didn't have to, for example, take 3 months out of my working schedule just to do a boot camp. I could actually do it anytime I wanted. I could do it online,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I had the internet, I have a computer, and so there was nothing really to stop me from pursuing that.
In your self-teaching and self-learning before doing Block, did you do like other online self-guided tutorials, or what were you using? Were you using books, or how were you teaching yourself?
Well, I probably did something rather non-traditional, and I used to, well, when I first looked at HTML and things like that, it was back in the late 90s, so, these I mean, the tutorials were quite few, and so I used to just, use this, the tutorials I could find online for that, and that was, back in the early stages of, I guess, web development now, or what it's become to be. But as I grew familiar with HTML and even CSS and things like that, I started actually just looking at websites and looking at the code because I could see what the code is and what it does and things like that. And I used to just mess around. But I didn't know any JavaScript or things like that, and I've always wanted to learn JavaScript. So what happened is that I started trying to find tutorials online about
Mhm.
JavaScript, and so I did like everybody else did. I went through Code Academy, and I also went through Code School as well. But I didn't pay. I mean, of course, I didn't pay for Code School. I just used their free tutorial of JavaScript,
Mhm.
but I really didn't. I mean, I learned how to do JavaScript. I learned about variables and things like that, but I didn't learn how to actually apply it,
Sure.
and that was the biggest thing that I wanted to do, and so that's why I kind of looked into doing other things.
Was your motivation in doing Block to be able to put your like new development skills to work in your current position, or was it to get like freelance jobs doing completely sort of different development work? Or what was the
But
motivation there?
I think, well, I mean, if we keep it in the present tense, um, really my motivation up until this point is to actually change my career.
Okay,
Instead of
interesting.
being a professor, I would like to just do full-time web development.
Cool. Awesome. You didn't quit your job though while you were doing Block. You were doing both
No,
at the
no,
same
no.
time.
I'm still working. I'm still doing my professor job and
Okay,
being a
cool.
professor and stuff like that. So,
Awesome. Okay, well, I want to talk about how you sort of balanced, doing both at the same time as well. So,
okay.
what was the application process like for you? Were there like requirements to be accepted? Did you talk with anyone at Block before you decided to take the plunge?
Yeah, actually, I contacted Bloc. I contacted other schools too. I just didn't contact Bloc. So I contact Thinkful, I contacted Bloc, and I believe I contacted another one, but I'm not sure what the name was. And I asked them, exactly, since I'm in the teaching, I guess community or whatever, I kind of know about teaching and about the things that will help people learn. So I mean, the fundamental question I asked was, what do you teach? Do you send people to do like code school and stuff like that, or do you have your own curriculum?
Hmm.
And that was the biggest thing. I mean, that's the biggest question for me. And so Block, out of the ones I talked to, Block was the only one that had had their own curriculum.
Yeah. What
And
other
that's
schools did you
what
talk to? Just curious.
I've talked to Thinkful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Thinkful. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Thinkful, but they told me that they were sending other people to different sites and stuff like that. And while that might be good for some people, for me it wasn't. So,
Yeah, that is definitely a difference between Block and Thinkful. Is that Thinkful is more of like a curated, uh, you know, resources from around the web, and Block
right.
definitely has their own curriculum, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So the other, big distinguishing factor about Block and some of these other online boot camps is that you get to work with a mentor. So you tell us a little bit about that? Who was your mentor, and did you get to choose them? What was the process to figuring out, who you were going to work with?
Right. So after you pay, what happens is that Block then allows you to have access to your account. And you fill out all the information in your account. You put your picture there, you put your name there, and any information you have, like a Twitter account or things like that. And then it takes you to another page where it actually lets you select mentors based on the time that's convenient for you.
Okay.
So you might have a list of like 4 or 5 mentors that are available, and you can go through their profile and see if it kind of fits with you, and you can also look at the times that they have available, because
Hmm.
some mentors, while they're available, for certain times, or they're available to teach you, I mean, your time might not be suitable with their time, and so you'd have to just pick another mentor.
Yeah. How were you communicating with your mentor most often? Like Google Hangouts or Skype, or what were you doing?
Well, we used Google Hangouts most of the time, and we also used Google Chat, and we used the Block email
Mhm.
interface as well. I mean, we used all sorts of methods. At first, we used Block, but then we found it was most convenient to just chat in the Google Chat on or meet in Google Hangouts when we had a meeting.
Yeah. Did you find that I mean, you're learning in Egypt. Block is based in California, although obviously it's an international company.
Right.
Were there time zone issues ever, or did you say where your mentor was actually ended up being based?
My mentor is based in Los Angeles,
Oh, okay.
or just outside Los Angeles,
Hmm.
and so I think I'm like, well, right now I'm 9 hours ahead, but back
Hmm.
then I was 10 hours ahead, which was good. So basically, it was great because I would talk to him like at 10 o'clock midnight,
Hmm.
or not, sorry, not midnight, 10 o'clock in the evening, my time. And so, I would talk to him for half an hour, so like 10 to 10:30, or we would just reschedule sometimes earlier or maybe a little bit later.
Yeah.
And it was really convenient for me because I'm up at this time anyways, and so, it was after work. It was great.
How many mentor sessions did you do a week usually?
Well, I was on the 18-week track.
Okay.
And so I did, I believe it was 2 sessions a week,
Okay.
and sometimes we had more if
Mhm.
we could do it. Yeah,
Since you're an instructor, you're a professor. What did
yeah.
you think of the teaching style? I mean, it's great to like talk to somebody who is usually on the other side of this learning process.
hmm Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I think the thing about Block is that their curriculum is evolving,
Hmm.
and so by the time I graduated, I noticed a lot of or some changes
Hmm.
in how they explained things. And the really interesting thing is that they're very or the person running the curriculum for the front end, I believe his name was Joe, but he was the course director.
Hmm.
He was really open to changes that needed to be made or things that needed to be made clearer, and that was really excellent. And I could just shoot him an email and ask him, or I had a conversation once about it. There was a couple typos, and they'd
Uh-huh.
fix those right away. Or I said, "Oh, this is not very clear." Or when are you going to add more things that will explain this more? And he said, "Oh, okay, we're working on that," and they did. So it was really great, actually.
It's cool that you had like such a clear feedback loop, like you knew the person that to talk to and you knew that it would get fixed. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I talked to Karen first because she's
Hmm.
the one who coordinates with the students, and then she talked to Joe, and then Joe emailed me directly, which was great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever interact with other students in Block? Like, were there ways that y'all were like in groups, or did you feel like you were in a
Um,
cohort at all, or not really?
Actually, I wasn't in. I didn't at that time. I didn't have my Facebook account actually opened at that time because I said I'm not going to get on Facebook for this entire mentorship because I know it's just going to distract me.
Yeah.
So I actually closed it, but I know
Hmm.
that they have a Block student and alumni group, and
Hmm.
which I became a part of later on.
Cool.
Um, but at the end of my apprenticeship, they started opening, I guess, cohorts for like boot camps. And what they did at first is that I believe they linked all the front end people together, and
Hmm.
then I think later on they changed it to have a mixture of people. I think that's what that they were doing. I could be wrong though, because what's happening now is that I became part of another group, and so I'm an alumnus of course. So I actually am with a group of people who just started, and it's great actually because I can help them out if they have any questions, and that's actually on Basecamp.
Oh, cool. Okay, okay. So that was through Basecamp. Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
So can you tell us, just give us like a rundown of the technologies that you actually learned in the front end apprenticeship?
Okay. Well, what I learned was it well JavaScript. I learned how to use Git and learn how to push my commits or my code to GitHub.
Hmm.
I also learned Angular JS, of course, because that's the main thing for the front end course. I also learned a little bit of jQuery, HTML, CSS, of course, and with my mentor, I actually learned Node.js, which is not part of the block curriculum, and I also learned how to write, I guess, task runners with gulp instead of grunt, and grunt is what the front end uh, people use in
Uh-huh.
block, but we don't really learn how to use it or to write, grunt tasks. But I was just really lucky to have a mentor that that really encouraged me to, look at different technologies and look at different things in order to make myself more marketable.
Okay, so that was my next question was like how personalized and like customized you felt the program was to your needs. And it sounds like you wanted to learn Node and your mentor was totally open to that. Did you
Yeah.
feel like it was flexible to the sort of extend outside of the curriculum?
Well, that's the thing. I think that the first project that you do is actually
Hmm.
called block jams, and that is a clone of the of Spotify, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of teaches you all of the basics and all of the fundamentals that you need to complete, I guess, other projects as you go along. Because I've at least found myself going back to that first project and looking at some of the concepts I learned there and saying, oh, yeah, okay, this is how I do it. Um, and so once you have mastered those fundamentals,
Mm-hmm.
then you move on to the three projects that you will do. And when I did the projects, my mentor was really encouraging me to, try to expand my knowledge. And so I had actually used Firebase
Mm-hmm.
for my backend for the what is it the block it off, which is basically a task list. A
Okay.
task list, yeah. And so I used Firebase. That wasn't in the curriculum, but I just said, "Oh yeah, I want to use it because I saw it online." And my mentor was like, "Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do it?"
That's
He didn't
awesome.
know anything about Firebase either, but we just experimented. The other thing that I did was the mobile animations for the block jams, and that was very
Mm-hmm.
easy for me, extremely easy. I think I did it in one day.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
because I had a background in CSS already and
Right.
animation. But my capstone project, my mentor told me that, look, I think you should try to make your project, try to branch out for this project. And so I learned Node.js,
Okay.
um, and I also learned how to use APIs. And so I used the Evernote API and um, learned how to look at that through Express.js, which is basically using Node and sending things to different web servers and getting information back. So
Cool. Okay, I want to have you share your screen and show us that project in just 1 second, but I have one more question before then.
yeah, sure.
How many hours a week were you spending on Block in addition to your full-time job?
Okay. Yeah, that's the biggest question, I think. I think some days or some weeks I spent a lot more of time
Hmm.
than other weeks. So, because I had a background in HTML and CSS, I went through the fundamentals quite quickly, and so I could
Okay.
spare more time in doing other things. And so, I think on an average, I probably spent at least probably almost 20 hours a week.
A week and you did the 18-week program too.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's pretty.
But I finished within 11 weeks.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So
so
20 weeks an hour, 20 hours a week. So how did you balance? I guess what kind of like advice do you have to somebody who's thinking about doing Block or another online program and keeping their job at the same time? Like, how did you not go crazy?
well, I really like coding. So I think that's the biggest thing. You must
Hmm.
love coding and you must be really, really interested in coding to do it because it's important that you have patience and are willing to actually spend time and learning things that might puzzle you.
Hmm.
There were several occasions where I got stuck, and I got stuck for a week. But I kept doing it, and I asked my mentor for some help. My mentor gave me some hints on what to do. I didn't
Hmm.
want him to give me the answer, and so I just, did my best, and I figured the answer out as best as I could, and it worked, and that was great for me. Um, but I mean, I go to work at 8 o'clock. I come back at 5 o'clock. I go to the gym. I do
Hmm.
things like that for an hour, and I come back home and I spend maybe an hour or two looking at code.
Yeah.
And so that's how. And on the weekends, I spent more time because I had more time to do it.
Hmm.
And so I considered it like it was an extra job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot about just making that commitment and knowing
Yeah.
that it's a finite amount of time, I guess.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly, exactly. And you have to
One
be
other
really
thing.
willing to
Okay.
do it.
Yeah, that's huge. Like you had obviously like done free resources before, taught yourself HTML and CSS and like knew that it was something that you were passionate about. So that's important. Okay, one other thing that I think is really interesting about you is that you have like very much a background in humanities
Mhm.
as an English professor.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot, maybe a misconception that like having a humanities background, clashes or doesn't line up with being like a great coder because people are like, you have to have a math and science brain to do that. Are
Mhm.
there times, like, what have you found with respect to that? And are there times when you found that like having a humanities background has actually helped you in learning to be a better developer,
Mhm.
or what do you sort of think about that misconception or conception?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, I think, a misconception on some parts. As you know, to tell you the truth, my background before humanities, I was doing a little bit of IT, but I was
Hmm.
doing the business side of it. Um, I didn't do any coding or anything like that, but I think that the perception that humanities instructors don't know anything about IT, or I think that's definitely a huge miscalculation. For
Yeah.
example, I mean they have the text encoding initiative, which is TEI, and that's basically all they call them digital humanists or humanities. Digital, that's in the field of digital humanities, and they actually do basically coding websites and coding projects for humanities-based projects. So it's definitely, I think, a misconception that humanities people don't know anything, especially when they have a field
Hmm.
called digital humanities. Um, at the same
Yeah.
time, at the same time, I think that my background as a humanities professor, I really like to look at different things, and I like to look things, in abstract ways, just like maybe a computer scientist or a mathematician may look at a problem, for instance. And I
Hmm.
myself also like puzzles. So I
Yeah.
think having this knowledge of different things, having different background, definitely actually works to my benefit because I know other things besides just one particular aspect of a field. I know lots of things. So, you know, um, I think anybody in the humanities, if they have a will, they have a way to do it, and I think that Block will definitely help them in achieving that goal if they want to change their career, or if they want to become if they want to work in digital humanities. I think digital humanities in general, I mean, if they took the Block course, they would learn so many different coding skills that would actually help them to be or to actually contribute to that field. And that's a pretty new field. And they have professors who don't know anything or have just rudimentary knowledge of, XML and
Hmm.
things like that. And this would actually help them in their career if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. There is a ton of overlap, and it's also great to have like a diverse background and know things about other fields. It makes you better at your job. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about your project, your capstone project. So, do
Okay.
you mind sharing your screen and tell us
Sure.
the name of your project? If it's live, tell us the URL so we can follow along. And I have a couple questions for you about it.
Okay. Sure. Just yeah. Okay. Let me pull it up here. Let's see. So this is actually not my project.
Okay.
I'm just looking. I'm just trying to find my project at the moment. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. My project is actually called Evervoice, and yeah. Okay. And so can you see?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's pretty simple, but underneath it has a lot of stuff. um, so so actually this project came to me because I was actually searching for a capstone project to do, and
Hmm.
my mentor John Connor, told me, he said, well, I have a lot of ideas, but I don't know if you're going to like them. And I said, okay, let me see. So I didn't ask him what they were, but I just was thinking, and I took a couple days to think, and I decided, well, you know what? I use Evernote a lot,
Hmm.
the for notes and things like that. So, and I really wanted to find a way to actually make it so that instead of sending audio files over, for example, if I was having a meeting or something like that, I could actually just talk to my computer and it would send it all as a text and send it to my Evernote account.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I can walk you through it. And so
Please.
basically, if
Yeah.
you clicked enter right there, and it will ask you to actually access it. You should use your Evernote account.
Hmm.
So it would be like, and then you can authorize it. And this is basically what it has in it. So it's just a box and type record, and then after you're done, you save it to Evernote. So we could give it a try a little bit. So I'll
Please.
just press record. And so as you can see right now, it's recording, and it might be not 100% correct at this time, but that's okay. And
Wait, that's incredible. I love that you can see its thought process too.
yeah, it's
Like it
pretty
comes,
cool.
the translation or the text comes up correctly, but you can
Yeah, I
see
mean
what it's
that's
saying.
from Google actually. You can thank
That's
Google for
really
that.
cool.
And so what happens is it sends it to your
Mhm.
Evernote account. I believe it's this. I have two Evernote accounts, so yeah, there it goes. You see here it says sent from Evervoice,
That's awesome.
and so I made it so it says sent from Ever. So it just sends you the text automatically, and that's it.
That is really cool functionality. Okay, so tell us what technologies you use to create it.
Okay, so yeah, so what I actually did was I used Angular,
Hmm.
used Express. So you can see, can you see this right now?
Totally.
My GitHub. Okay, so it says
Hmm.
right here, Bloc final front end Angular project. Use Node.js, Express.js, Gulp, and Evernote JavaScript SDK and Google Chrome Speech Recognition API. And so I used all of that. And I actually had to learn Gulp. I had to learn how to use Express. I had to learn how to do Node and everything, which was not in the Block curriculum, but my mentor was able to help me learn these technologies, or he pointed me in a direction where I could actually learn these technologies in order to help me out. And what had actually happened,
Hmm.
actually, to tell you the truth, before I had done this, is that I was actually using a different backend to send it to
Hmm.
Evernote because I hadn't learned Node, I hadn't learned Express or anything like that. And so I was using a product called Zapier, and that would just, because I'm doing front end stuff. And so
Yeah.
since Node.js wasn't in the curriculum and it's kind of really back end, um, it wasn't. I didn't know what to do, and so I just used Zapier for a time. And then I told my mentor, "Well, I'm not really happy with this." He
Hmm.
said, "Well, if you want to make it work, you got to use Node and Express, and then let's use the Evernote API, and I'll show you how to do that." And so we did that. And so basically, if we look at the some of the code here, why not? Um, Yeah, so I had to learn how to write most of this stuff, which is basically using different controllers and things like that. And then I had to learn how to write the web speech API. This is all in Angular and basic JavaScript.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I had to learn how to do all of it. And um, yeah,
I have to say that this is very sophisticated back-end code for a front-end online boot camp
well, this is actually
capstone
this is
project.
well, to tell you the
No,
truth, this is
not this, but just the fact that you like integrate a node into it, like saw that Zapier wasn't working the way that you wanted it to, and so you were like, I'm going to build this
well, yeah, I
myself.
mean, well, this is the back end stuff right here.
Hmm.
And so, I had some. I did this myself, and I also had some help actually from the Evernote
Hmm.
API itself. It helped me out a lot,
Cool.
and my mentor helped me out with some things, but he didn't know kind of what to do at times because it was brand new for him as well.
Yeah.
But he definitely knew where to go with it when my Node code didn't wasn't working out very well. But
Is
yeah,
is Evervoice live now?
it is live actually, and
Do you have any users? Do you
um,
want users? Do you want the
yeah, why
public to
not? I mean,
use
I
it?
had one user on Twitter, and he told me, "Oh, wow, this is fantastic," and that was about all I heard. um,
That's good feedback.
yeah, but I mean, on my GitHub account, I have other projects too, and the link
Hmm.
to the Evervoice is there in my GitHub,
Awesome.
and it's
Cool.
actually right here. And I actually made another project.
Do you want to show
This
that
pro
one to us?
Sure, I really
Okay.
like this project. Okay, so this is a nutrition tracker. And so why I
Oh,
called it
interesting.
NG nutrition tracker is because NG, I just wanted to take Angular out of it because everything is NG and Angular. And so
Oh, cool.
this one actually uses Angular material design, which is brand new.
Uh-huh.
And what it does is it actually tracks how many calories you're eating per day based on the amounts of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats that you're eating in grams. So if we look at the macronutrients here, it comes up and you can actually select a day when you
Hmm.
eat something. So let's say it's today. Let's say I ate 200 grams of protein and 200 carbohydrates and about 80 grams of fat. What it will do is that it will actually um, calculate all your calories for you. It'll actually calculate the percentages that you have of those macronutrients as well. And then you can
Interesting.
submit it, and you can go into your summary here, and it will actually give you all of the calories that you've been eating for that particular day.
Was this a project that you worked on in Block as well?
Yeah, it was. I was actually in
Okay.
Block, and I had 7 weeks left, and I didn't know what to do. And my mentor said, "Oh, come up with something else to do." So I said, "Okay," and this was it.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But this one uses MongoDB for the
Hmm.
backend, which collects all the records that you have here. Um, it also looks at it will look at the averages of them. I haven't written that part yet, but it uses basically Angular for everything, calculations in Angular, Angular material design. It uses Gulp again. Um, Yeah, and that's basically it.
So
This
cool.
one's live as well, but it's
Uh-huh.
just kind of like a prototype, and I'm still just working on it here and there to learn new technologies and stuff like that. So I'm
Cool.
incorporating it as I build it. Yeah.
Is that also in your GitHub?
Yeah, yeah, they're all in my GitHub. Even some experiments that I've done, for example, using. I mean, I've done a mock-up as well, mock-up of different or of one website for my job prep, and that's also my
Hmm.
GitHub. I've done some things with other things, and I'm continuously adding new things in my GitHub. So some of it's done, some of it's not done, but I consider everything really as a work in progress, I guess.
So cool. Awesome. Well, since you mentioned doing, other sort of mock-ups for your job prep, I want to talk about the job prep program that you went through with Block, because I know that's one of their newer offerings.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us about that. So you finished the 18 weeks, sorry, with Block, and then what did they do to prepare you for the post boot camp world? Or you
Okay.
can
Well,
unshare your screen too, so that we can see your face.
yeah. Is it unshared? It's unshared with
Um,
me
I think.
because mine says it's unshared. I see my face actually in the
Oh,
camera.
you do?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
We'll see how it
oh
works.
well. Maybe the video just isn't on.
No, my video's on. Okay.
Oh,
Anyways.
darn. Okay. Well, okay. So yeah. So tell us about the job prep program and how it sort of prepared you.
Okay, so the job prep program really prepared me for, I guess, I guess the life of a developer, and it was really interesting because what they want you to do is they want you to go through your LinkedIn, they want you to go through your GitHub, they want you to go through various coding exercises,
Hmm.
which were really like I wasn't used to them at all. Because they were really technical and they really tested your JavaScript, I guess, um, skill. And so, what I guess I had a different mentor for it.
Hmm.
I actually had the lead developer for the full stack course, which his name's Jose Sanchez, and
Oh,
who was
cool.
really good. And the thing about him was that he came with a completely different approach than my mentor did, and that's probably because he does full stack. And
Hmm.
so we did a couple interviews. We did like a mock interview. So basically, they would send you a fake company or something like that, and you would have to actually pretend that you were going to, I guess, be a part of this company and that you wanted a job with this company. So you'd have to look on their website, you'd have to learn about the company, um, then you'd have to actually figure out how to, I guess, hello, are you still there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all
Can you
right.
hear me? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so then you'd have to actually go through and try to interview with this company, and then you'd have to go
Hmm.
through like a mock coding exercise online.
Cool. Did they have you do like a portfolio site or like a sort of forward facing like consumer facing site with all of your work or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I have my own website, and I had to do that. It's basically my name, abdelalger.com.
Cool.
And yeah, I had to make my own website. I put my projects in there. You didn't have to do that,
Hmm.
but I did, and I used Angular to do that. Um, yeah, and I mean, yeah, we had to make our own website. We had to also make a mock-up. I mean, we basically get sent a mock-up, and you said, okay, you have to recreate this image as a
Hmm.
website, and so I did that. Um, yeah,
I mean, that sounds like it sounds like a lot of sort of like a lot of things to like present to a future employer. So that's
well, I mean,
awesome.
it's a different roadmap. It's a completely different
Right.
roadmap, and I believe we had 3, 6, 9, maybe 12. I believe 12 checkpoints,
Hmm.
and each of those checkpoints emphasize, having a great LinkedIn account, having a
Hmm.
great GitHub account, and make sure that you always record everything in detail about your projects and about what it does and things like that, and make
Yeah.
sure as well that they're working online, that just not, you know, so people can actually see them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
and
so you're still at the university teaching.
mhm, mhm.
What are future goals? Are you thinking, are you going to start like freelancing in addition to teaching? Do you want to eventually like become a full-time developer at a company, or what's your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is actually to become a full-time developer at a company. So yes, I
Cool.
am for hire. You can hire me, and I will come back to United States, and I will live there forever, no problem. So I mean, I would really like to, move back to the West Coast or something like that, back
Hmm.
to Seattle, especially where
You
my
grew up in
family lives.
Seattle, right?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up in Seattle.
Okay,
I grew
cool.
up parts of California and other places too. Um,
Awesome.
but yeah, I would. I mean, I would really like to move back to the States, and that's my plan. And so, I'd rather, get a job in doing something that I really love doing,
Hmm.
and as well, being close to my family back home.
Awesome. Well, I guess the last question that I have for you is pretty general, but would you say that Block was worth the money? Like, would you recommend it to a friend? And is there anyone any type of person, I guess, that you wouldn't recommend it to?
Okay. Well, you know, Let me talk about the good thing about Block is
Hmm.
that you get a mentor. And with
Hmm.
anything in life, I think a mentor is essential for you to have in order to help you become the person you want to be. And so that is the number one selling point that Block has, for sure. Compared to other coding schools all around the world, that is the number one thing. The second thing
Hmm.
is that they have a good curriculum and it's evolving, which is excellent and it's fantastic, and not many people have that um, as well. Yes, it was worth the money because I don't
Hmm.
feel bad about spending money to improve myself and to get a different career. And to tell you the truth, I was hesitating at first. I was saying, wow, this is a lot of money and this is a commitment. Yes,
Yes,
it's a commitment, and yes, you'll get out of it what you put in. So I think it was definitely worth the money, and I would gladly pay for it again, and I think you will actually get a lot more than what you're paying for from the program.
absolutely. Well, I think that that advice that you get out of it, what you put in, you are a perfect example of that because you clearly put in a lot of effort and made a real commitment to this, and it totally shows in what you were able to actually create. So I think that's awesome. So thank you so much, Abdullah. Thanks everybody for watching this live Q&A. Abdullah, we can't thank you enough for being here. If you're watching this and you have additional questions about Block, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I will send out some. I'll put some contact information in this page as well. And of course, visit coursereport.com, sign up for our email list. You'll get all of our future updates on webinars, other live Q&As like this. And I will also post a recording of this Q&A, and I'll post information about our exclusive $200 scholarship to Block as well. So tweet us, tell us what topics or schools you'd like to see in the next Q&A, and we'll see you later. Thanks so much for tuning in.